Hey everyone. Now let's retry this. I kind of went a little overboard on excuse me, on the video, but anyway, should be again. Anyway, I want to talk about something that I've talked about before, and once again, I will admit I never watched the series that much. I only saw like clips here and there. But I did talk about the ending because obviously this was a huge news item across all across the internet, especially if you're a big time fan and follower of the Legend of Korra. But anyway, basically, spoilers. Well, it's not really spoilers because practically everybody here on YouTube and all over the internet's been talking about it, so it's not really spoilers. But anyway, uh, at the end of the final episode of the Legend of Korra, basically Asami and Korra walking hand in hand and then holding hands together like this, looking at each other as they're entering the spirit portal. Now later on after that, about a day or so later, a couple of days later, the writers, the creative staff came out and said that hey, what you saw there was confirmation that Korra Asami or Asami Kori, Korra Asami or Asami Korra is official. That yes, they are a couple. And there are some fans that are okay with this because pretty much this is what they felt needed to be done. There are some fans that kind of look at it from both sides, like why it had to be done and why it shouldn't have been done. And again, there are some fans that feel this was the right decision. But then again, on the other hand, you have fans that feel it wasn't the right decision. In fact, you have some fans that feel they were gypped out. They were gypped. They were swerved. That basically this is something that some of them feel was done last minute. They feel it was done last minute just to promote gay rights and lesbian rights and all that, blah, 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 blah. While others are like, no, it wasn't done last minute. It was actually planned out since the end of season 3, if not mid portion of season 3, if not the end of season 2. That this is something they had been planning to go, planning the direction they've been planning to go in. And again, according to whatever source you read, like I said, it's something that, according to several sources, was either planned out since the end of season 2, mid portion of season 3, and the end of season 3. That this is a direction they wanted to go in. Now, the reason I say there are some fans that are miffed about this, ticked off, if you will, is because pretty much, like I said, they feel as though it was a swerve. It was something they didn't see coming and they don't like it. Now, nothing against these fans. They have a right to be upset because, like anybody, unlike me though, but like anybody else, a majority of people, they've watched the series. They watched it, they paid attention to it, felt they knew what was going to happen, felt they had a clue of what was going to happen, but in the end they got this. And again, there are some who are okay with it, some are not, and some that are mixed. You know, and it's kind of like, for some that are, upset about it. In fact, there are some people that go on YouTube and saying, like this is one channel that did a reaction, an audio reaction, and they feel as though it was a last minute deal. It was something that's done at the last moment, spirit of the moment kind of deal, last minute, whatever. There's a lot of people that feel that way. And there are some that, like I mentioned earlier, that pretty much are coming out saying, no, this was not last minute. This was something that's been planned since basically the end of season 2, if not midway season 3 or end of season 3, according to whatever sources you read. This is something they had planned out, and this is something that they had planned out since then, and this is the direction they wanted to go in. And when I hear people complain about this, kind of give the frustrations out about it. And again, I can understand where they're coming from. They have a right to be angry. I think what it is because, like anybody else, they watched every episode, but I think the problem is they didn't pay attention to many details. Many little details that were there right in front of their faces. They didn't see the hints, even as small as they were, or unnoticeable as they were. They didn't see the small hints and details and clues that this is a direction the writers of Legend of Korra, the creative staff of Legend of Korra, wanted to go in. They didn't notice that. And I think what they were hoping, if they, I think one thing they were upset about is they didn't get like some kind of major clue, like some major on-screen clue, like, oh, or some major on-screen hint of, oh, this is where they're going. They didn't get that. They didn't get that satisfaction. And again, I can understand that. It's like if you followed Scooby-Doo since the beginning of in 1969, I know such, and then all of a sudden you're watching it and watching it and watching it, and you pretty much have an idea that Daphne and Fred are a boyfriend girlfriend, even back then. But then all of a sudden, here's 1983 comes around, and you see Daphne with Shaggy, and you see them together for like 3 years and the 3 seasons. You're probably thinking, well, where did this come from? When did she start being interested in Shaggy? And if you're a fan, if you became a fan of Scooby-Doo since at that moment in the 1980s, and all of a sudden here comes, the direct-to-video movies of Zombie Island and, Witches Ghost and What's New Scooby-Doo and whatever. All of a sudden you see Fred with Daphne and you're thinking, well, where did they come up with this? What was this about? Why didn't they stick with Shaggy and Daphne? It's pretty much something that you didn't see coming, and you would have liked some kind of major hint at the fact that they were going to go in that direction, but you never got it. And again, it's about detail. It's about looking for the smallest detail, the smallest hint, the smallest clue, even if it seems to be almost unnoticeable, invisible, if you will, to the human eye. You need to take a good close look and get sort of an idea, like, oh, this small detail is kind of telling me something, but what is it? And then the more you see of that detail in a similar fashion, or that hint in a similar fashion, or that clue in a similar fashion, in relatable fashion as well, it's like, oh, I see where they're going and all that. You kind of start to connect the dots. But it's kind of like with me, I've been reading the Sonic comics for quite some time now, since the beginning. I've been a subscriber of them since issue 72. And I've come to notice, I'm one of those people that seems to notice every detail and clue and hint that's in the comics that kind of give you an idea of where they're going. Like when Sally became Mecha Sally, a lot of people assumed she got gutted and taken apart and turned into this living weapon. And it's like, no, he didn't, there's no way that could happen. Even off panel, there's no way Ian Flynn would let that happen. Because what I looked at when I finally read the issues to catch up to what was going on, I noticed that he was just measuring Sally in her mecha form as if he was measuring her for a gown to be fitted on, which gave me the clue right there, the hint in the clue, in the detail, that he was going to put armor on her, weaponized armor. I mean, because come on, how could she still have a brown tail on her backside if she was completely overhauled? And then, on top of that, when I saw the weaponized design and all that, or even before that, I said to myself, and I said this at several Sonic forums, Saturday Morning Sonic, Sonic Stadiums, Sega forums, wherever, I said that this is an excuse. Well, I didn't say it was an excuse, but I said basically that she's going to be fully clothed after this. That this is just a way to get her fully clothed. And I was right. In fact, one person at the Saturday Morning Sonic forums pointed that out. But again, getting back on topic, it's the same. It may not be the same as the Legend of Korra, but the thing is, it's all about detail, hint, and clue. Basically, those, even if they're very small and very unnoticeable, it's something that you got to take notice. You got to keep an eye out for, because you never know. And I understand there's some people that are upset about it, and I get that. I do. I really do get that. But here's the thing. Just because you're upset about it, doesn't change it. It's done. It's over with. It's official. Korra Asami, Korra Asami Korra are a couple. They're official canon. And again, there's not really much you can do about that. And I could probably understand why they didn't give you the clues, or why they didn't give out the major hints that you would hope for to kind of say like, okay, they're going to go with that. They're going to go in that direction with those two. I believe the reason they didn't do it the way you were hoping, what people were hoping, and again, this is not a jab at anybody. This is just straight out fact, in my opinion. The reason a lot of people are upset that they didn't get any bigger clues and they only got those small hints and details that were very unnoticeable or just so small that you got to really keep an eye out for them is because the producers and the writers were doing what they could from basically the time they began this, which could have been at the end of season 2, midway season 3, or at the end of season 3. They were planning on how they were going to get that scene, get this confirmation, get this canonized, if you will, but under the eyes, but under the eyes and away from the noses, if you will, basically unnoticeable from the standards and practices of Nickelodeon. That was one of the main focuses. That's why if you saw any clue, it was very small in detail. Saw any hint, it was very small in detail. But basically, the main reason, in my opinion, is because the writers and creative staff were trying their best to kind of figure out a way how they were going to sneak this under Nickelodeon's and Nickelodeon standards and practices radar to be shown as it was. Because I think they realized that if they wouldn't have snuck it under, there's no way that scene would have happened. And there's no way, as they put it, the writers put it later on afterwards, they could have confirmed that Korra and Asami were a pair. They were a couple. They were girlfriend, if you will, whatever. That, in my opinion, is why some fans, as upset as they are, like I said, as upset as they are, let me straighten this out here. As upset as they are, didn't get those huge clues, or those, at least some kind of a hintable, noticeable clue or detail that this was the direction they were going with the characters. Because again, I know I sound like a broken record here, but in my opinion, they were focusing more on how they were going to sneak it in. That's what they were doing. And you can argue that that's a stupid excuse, but you know what? It's better to be safe than sorry, if you know what I mean. And believe me though, I guarantee you if there's another Avatar-related series coming, then yes, standards and practices at Nickelodeon are going to probably talk to the writing staff of the Avatar franchise and say, hey, you may have gotten away with this, but you're not going to do that in this next one. Which also kind of gives me an idea, as I think maybe the writing staff's going to look for another network down the line to air Avatar, if you get my drift. But anyway, that's just my opinion on it, my opinion on why some people are upset, and why I think they didn't get the major clues or hints that they were hoping for. Again, not a jab at anybody, but that's just my opinion on it. So let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like, and I'm out.